Yo, if you're watching this video, it's probably because you have foot pain or flat feet or bunions or something nasty that you don't want. And this is a topic I'm very passionate about because I've been through these problems. I have been the kid crying as I walk home from school because my feet hurt so bad. My Achilles, all sorts of issues I've had with my feet. Besides from just wearing the wrong shoes and whatnot, I had alignment issues. And so the journey we are on, is to go to pain-free peak performance, right? In every aspect of the life. But it starts with our foundation. Our feet are our foundation for pretty much everything that we do day to day, right? There's a few stages along this journey we want to elucidate, and all of it is going around the whole model of awareness, practice. What's the last one? I call it integration. That's when it becomes like an automated habit. And we keep going around and around and around and around, spiraling up as we become aware, as we practice the right stuff, as we integrate, what we've practiced basically into the new neurological default. So it's automatically coordinated to just work better and stronger, physical adaptations included and all of that. So first of all, I want to give you some hope. I grew up through developmental years when things are really important to have good alignment and whatnot. I grew up with really bad alignment and terrible shoes. And yes, it caused me a lot of issues. I had a lot of pain, which is like stage one. You're aware there's an issue because there's pain, because your feet look flat, because maybe your toes aren't looking straight. Something is not attractive. Something is not working well. You are not performing, looking, and feeling your best. And this is the stage where you know about it. And then you start looking for answers because it hurts too bad. Doing nothing about it just sucks too much. So that's maybe where you are right now, right? My journey there was to the mall, to the foot experts in the store, and I walked on the platform thing, and it goes, "Oh yes, you looks like you're walking on the inside edge of your feet," right? That makes a lot of sense, right? So the entire foot contact was all just along the inside edge, and my shoes told the exact same story because you could look at the bottom of a shoe, and it's totally worn through, like to the sock, on my big toe ball of the foot, and the outside of the shoe was absolutely like unscratched pretty much. There's no pressure going on there. I went through a lot of shoes very, very fast because of this habit. Maybe you do too. You destroy a lot of shoes on the inside edge or the outside edge. If you're bow-legged, some people have the opposite issue of flat feet, but it's the same principles at play here. So there's an issue. Go to the foot store, they say, okay, you need orthotics. This will solve it, right? This will get rid of the pain. This will mean that you're okay. And to be honest, it did work. It was a temporary solution. It meant that I could go back to school without crying my eyes out because my feet hurt so bad. And so the orthotic, where is it? The orthotic sits in there, supports the arch from the outside. And so it kind of works, right? It actually brings your foot into alignment. If it was flat like this or whatnot, you can wear the arch and it might force your foot into something like this. But it isn't actually training the muscles to do what they're supposed to do. It isn't fixing the root cause. And it's not just some people have flat feet. It's because we didn't train our muscles to work properly. And yeah, I ran around barefoot and whatnot, but I wasn't using my foot properly. The foot is designed to work in a certain way. I was over here instead of being aligned. And so you can see this whether somebody's wearing shoes or socks or whatever, you can see whether they have alignment. And one, you can look at the literal ankle. Is it in a straight line? Is that big tendon in a pretty straight line? Is it looking a little bent with overpronation, which is actually a high arch? This is all the right foot, so it's not like left foot, right foot. Is it flat or pronated, as we call it too, if you want to get fancy? And this is like really flat feet, and if you're gonna see it in your shoes, you're gonna feel it, you're gonna see it in other people. Now, do you think that's gonna lead to pain-free peak performance compared to an aligned foot? I mean, I've done the studies on Usain Bolt, I've done the studies on the tribesmen, I've done studies on ultramarathoners. They have a few things in common. One is that they practice a gait. Maybe they didn't start that way, but they train their foot to work properly, and that's by balancing these muscles. We're going to talk about that in a second. Another thing is that they aren't pointing out. They aren't pointing in. I see tons and tons of people. I've actually got tons of footage here somewhere of people walking, You know, maybe they're dragging their feet, their gait is totally wacky, their feet are pointing outwards or inwards, and it's going to cause a whole host of issues. One, imagine right now your feet are pointing outwards and then you're supposed to walk forwards. So what happens? You might go from the outside edge of the heel, let me give you a little visual here, and roll basically to that and then launch off this part of the foot. More likely than not, that's actually going to lead to, you know, like a lot of knee pain on the inside edge if you're doing that, whether you're bow-legged or whatnot. The way that the tendons connect, you're probably going to experience other symptoms even if you don't know it's your foot. So if you do know somebody who's suffering like weird knee pain or whatever, and you know their feet look wonky, maybe tell them to watch this video, right? They could learn something, they could take a step in the right direction. So let's talk about these muscles. Let's look at this guy. You know, it's near the fibula and it's long. Guess what it's called? You know, fancy Latin name, right? Look at where it connects. What do you think it does? If you squeeze that muscle, if you try to shorten this muscle right here, what does it do? It probably actually lifts the outside edge of your foot, for lack of a better word, right? It's not the only one, but there's a lot of muscles here, all underneath the calf muscle, whatever the gastrocnemius is. And you can look at maybe some of these other muscles that possibly connect to the arch. Like what if we shortened them, right? You can get a better view here. Look at that guy. Tibialis posterior. You know, there's some of the ones that just flex toes, they're actually stored back here too. But look at the arch. You can follow the tendon insertion and go, oh, that's probably the muscle that I need to engage a little bit more if I want to be walking and standing with a normal healthy foot that has an arch. And that's just like, without getting too far into the weeds here, this is just like standing posture. There's a whole other game at play when we're moving, when we're taking step by step by step. So gait analysis is something I spend a lot of time on because it's so worth it for myself, because, you know, like I love running barefoot. I love hiking. I love doing all these things. Whether I'm wearing shoes or not, the gait matters so much. And I've made the mistakes and I've felt the issues and I know how that's going to grind out the knees if you're walking wrong with every step. And so, quick touching on that gait, we want like a smooth, like I call it like a cradle, right? So if you're going to walk heel to toe just casually, you want a smooth cradling, so it goes on the heel and smoothly transfers and then smoothly launches off. Maybe it goes more around the outside edge of the foot. If you're used to walking on the flat foot, it's going to feel like you're trying to walk on the outside edge of the foot, but really it's just going to be balanced. It's the way of like overcompensating in a way. Not overcompensating, but it's going to feel like it to your coordination. That's why we're building awareness here. The other thing that we want to do is basically like cradle both directions. That's how I describe this. So you're cradling forwards and backwards so it's smooth, and you're also cradling side to side. And so you have this balanced platform, like if you're walking on like a ball or something, you want it smooth forwards and backwards and balanced side to side. And that's what we're trying to do with every step and with when we're just standing by default. And you know who else is a big advocator for this? Somebody who stands for hours and hours and hours in ceremonies. Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Elizabeth. She, when asked, you know, how do you stand so well without pain, without knee pain and whatnot, she says, honey, stand straight with your feet straight and balanced. Your hips above, you know, she doesn't go into the details too much, but basically she is describing, let me give it this posture. Straight feet, knees right above the feet, hips right above the knees, balanced. Same with the head. All the load-bearing joints are structured, starting with the little details in the foot, and that ends up like a pillar, right? It's strong structurally. It's not like a bent pillar that's all out of whack. That's what your flat foot is basically like, right? If you got collapsed arches, that's exactly what you're seeing with the tendon, right? Exactly that. So no bueno. We want to build a strong foundation from the ground up. And believe me, it is possible. I have done it. I've seen plenty of other people do it. And we can shortcut this process so much. So this is what we're doing. Now, when it comes to practicing the right stuff, that's basically something that has to be done one-on-one. Because I don't know what's going on with your foot yet. Maybe you don't know either. There are specific muscles in here that we need to train in specific ways to get the most effective and efficient results. So I don't want to tell you to like scrunch a towel with your toes, although that might help these muscles. And I don't want to tell you to do a certain type of calf raise, because that might make your compensation worse. That could be the opposite of what you need. And stepping even further back, like I don't want to give you a foot exercise, frankly, when your hips are totally out of whack. Like if your hips are unlevel and they're tilted forwards and whatnot, you got all sorts of issues here. Maybe your back is the main issue, and because the hip tilt, that's actually rotating your femurs and rotating the knees and whatever, and then that's creating the situation where your feet are pointing outwards, and that's creating the situation where you're getting all this muscle imbalance and bunions and stuff, because it's actually like a hip or core problem. It would be a waste of time to just focus on doing like some sort of foot exercise. That's not where the main issue is. That's why we need to do this one-on-one. We need to do this properly. If you want to diagnose exactly like what the issue is for you and how to solve it most effectively and follow through with it to the end so you actually get the results, then book a call. Join me in the club of pain-free feet that are able to run for miles and miles and miles, able to ski, able to snowboard, able to bike, able to do all the things that you can't when your feet hurt, when your knees hurt, when your back hurts. You want to be here? Please do it properly. I want to give you the shortcut. We're going to get aware of what your thing is. We're going to practice exactly what we need to practice. It's drug-free, it's surgery-free. Some of my clients have had surgery, tendon reattachments and all this weird stuff to try to correct bunions. And like basically I met them too late, unfortunately. So if you're in that position too, that's okay. We still need to solve the root issue. We still need to improve the strength, the mobility, and the balance so that you have pain-free peak performance. Get it? We're going to integrate that so it's a habit every day, that you don't need to spend 10 minutes. You don't need to wear like orthotics. You don't need to do weird stuff, because we're training the muscles to work properly. Follow through, book the call.